This is Andi for Boxing Social, and I'm delighted to be joined by Frank Smith, taking over the duties from Eddie Hearn today again. Frank, how are you feeling? Obviously, we're doing it beforehand this time.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just getting ready for the stick I'm going to get off him. Every time I do a press conference, turn my phone straight on and it's just Hearn just fucking going at me. So just getting ready for that. Hopefully I don't make any mistakes.
Give us a bit of an insight into the stick that he gives you.
Just like, what the hell were you talking about when you went on this little rant? And I'm like, I don't really know, to be honest. Do you know what? It's much easier doing this than sitting up there, like these. Yeah. And that you only learn as you get more chilled the more you do these. So you just got to basically think about yourself being naked in front of a group of people, and then everything's easy.
I mean, you could think of us naked, Frank, but we won't be going the other way around.
Sure.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
I'm not trying to say anything more.
I'm only joking. I don't know. Just got to be chilled up there. So.
Obviously, I can imagine though you'll be taking over more of these duties as the year goes on, because there'll be a lot more shows going on in the States. Obviously, Eddie's over there for the Canelo Jacobs tour at the minute. So what have you guys got in the line where Eddie will be away more so and you will have to step up?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm doing the Canelo Jacobs tour in LA on Monday. I'm doing the Estrada Rung Survive press conference on Tuesday in LA. So we're just swapping it about. You know, there's a lot of travelling going on, a lot of different things going on. So we just, we go through the calendar and see who can make what.
I've watched your past interviews and seen your story in terms of how you started off as work experience boy and then grew up through T-boy and onwards, and now you're at a stop near enough next to Eddie now. And when you started with Matchroom, was that the goal? Was that what you envisaged achieving so far?
In all honesty, not. I didn't really have a plan. I just wanted to go to work. So whether it was working there or I wanted to actually become a stockbroker, that was when I was 13, 14, that's what I wanted to do. And I've got this job, and it's just, I just wanted to work. I would have done it anywhere. Put me in Tesco's, I would have worked harder than anyone else in Tesco's. So, but fell into this, got lucky to do this, and then worked my way through it. So, yeah.
So talking about as well, then I always see over Twitter you're constantly on the move, as is Eddie. How difficult is that with your personal life, trying to juggle? I know you've got a girlfriend as well, and you've got to juggle that and your family with the constant travelling.
Yeah, that's the only. There's not many downsides to this business. We're lucky to be involved in something that doesn't feel like a real job, but obviously, as part of that, it means you have to give up certain other things. So, travelling 40, 45, 50 weekends of the year. It leaves you a couple free, but it's part of the job. It's all good fun. We're doing something that a lot of people would love to do, so you got to appreciate it rather than I want to look back in 10 years and go, wow, all those things I've done, and that's where we're at now. It's very easy to forget how the position we're in and just treat it as work. Now obviously we work hard, but we enjoy it, and that's the key for us. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to love what you do, and you've got to actually appreciate the opportunity you've got.
You just mentioned being away for most of the weeks out of the year. Was you available for Valentine's Day?
Where was I? Yes. Valentine's Day. Yes, I was. Do you know, I had 2 days with my missus around Valentine's Day, then I flew to New York, so that got me some brownie points. I'm just trying to make a bit of effort when I can, a couple of days here or there. So I had a couple of weeks away at the start of the year, so, no complaints. It's all good fun.
And before we do come on to the card for Saturday, you just mentioned, in 10 years' time, you'd love to see where you are and have those stories to be able to tell. What is the plan then? If you could outline the next 10 years for Matchroom and you speak with Eddie and see where it would be as a company, what would be the ideal situation?
I think our business in the last couple of years, and will continue to do so, is becoming more of a global business. We promote 600 sporting events a year around the world. Away from just boxing. We're up to 50 odd boxing shows a year. So our business continues to grow, and it's a long-term plan. All of these things we're doing, all of these new markets we're going into, it's a long-term plan to keep growing and put on more and more events. And we'll continue to do that. So 10 years is a long way away, but we're cementing plans now for a long period that give us that security and give us that ability to carry on doing what we're doing for a long time. I mean, whether I make it another 10 years, who knows with all the flights, but no, it's exciting for us as a business right now.
How have you found the beginning of the journey into America and trying to challenge the current promoters over there and break down that market?
Yeah, I think finally now, you got to remember, since we signed the DAZN deal, it's only been 6 months of actually putting on DAZN shows. So where we're up to now, you know, don't get me wrong, it's been difficult. It hasn't been easy, but it shouldn't be easy. You know, everyone's tried to put stumbling blocks in our way, and they would, you know, because they don't want us to succeed at what we're doing. So we just need to work harder. I think now we've finally got some momentum with what we're doing. You know, we've got some huge shows coming up. March 9th, we're in New York. Bivol, Joe Smith Jr., Maurice Hooker as well, defending his world title. March 15, you got the John O'Carroll, Tevin Farmer world title fight. Katie Taylor is on there as well against Rose Valente. Then you've got our March 23rd show UK, March 30th show UK, April 26th we announced Rung Savai Estrada. May will announce another show soon. June 1st, Joshua Miller. So, you know, we're starting to really get somewhere with it. And I think people want everything now. And it takes time to deliver these things, you know. But we're at a point now. Signed Jacobs onto a longer term deal. Got the fight against Canelo for a unification fight. Demetrius Andrade, the only other world middleweight champion. So, you know, we're in a position now where I think in the US we're growing to the strongest, one of the strongest promoters out there, and we'll continue to do that with the time we have. You know, it's taken us many years in the UK to get to where we are, and you know, we're going to carry on working to carry on delivering and build the sport in the UK, US and globally.
When Eddie announced the DAZN deal, do you think he made a mistake by saying how big a deal it was in terms of more fighters and more promoters would try and get more money out of your 4 fights?
I think, look, we had to make an impact. We couldn't come in and go, we're coming to America, can't really talk about it, you know, a little bit of money, but, you know, that was the whole point. And, yeah, it's taken us a little bit longer than we first envisaged, but I think we're at a point now where we're delivering what we wanted to deliver, you know, and I think it's going very well.
Let's go on to this card then for Saturday night here in Peterborough. First time in Peterborough, excited to put on a show here?
Yeah, it's an interesting place. We're looking at new markets, new places to take shows. You know, we've gone to all our usual venues. We're now looking at trying to build fighters in their local area. And you know, this show on Saturday we'll have over 2,500 people in there for a next gen show, which is brilliant. You know, it's what it's all about, and we need to start building these stars of tomorrow, because as we've seen, a lot of the names who have been around for a long time, they're coming towards the end of their career. These are the guys we need to start building, and the likes of Jordan Gill selling 2,500 odd tickets, it's brilliant, and it's what we need.
Something we should just mention, you know, a lot of the old guys coming to in, you know, James DeGale today announcing his retirement, George Groves earlier on, Tony Bellew, David Hay as well, you know, amongst others, you know, Carl Brook and Amir Khan come to the end of their careers. Will you see them, the likes of Jordan Gill, with the right promotion, maybe not necessarily to the same level, but being able to take over on a British market, to sell out arenas and to eventually reach the peaks that the market needs to be able to continue to be stable?
Yeah, he's got the ability. Like we said, he sold a load of tickets this weekend. All these guys have got the ability. Anthony Fowler, you've got his fighting Scott Fitzgerald. That's sold a load of tickets up in Liverpool. Josh Kelly's coming through, Joshua Boazzi, Lawrence Coley, all these young guys, Joe Caldina in Cardiff. They're the ones we need to build. And they're the ones we need to headline, like Jordan Gill's getting his opportunity this week to headline on a next gen show. These are the guys we need to build and let them headline, let them fight on the big cards. And they're the ones who in the next year or so are going to grow into the superstars of this sport in the UK.
At the same time, you'll know yourself that them guys headlining, if it became a very regular occurrence, the fan demand may not be happy with it because of the fact that they've been used to seeing the likes of the Carl Brooks, the Amir Khans, Anthony Joshua's, etc., you know, headlining. How do you think their reaction would go down?
Yeah, look, I think they've got to realise that these are the new crop of talent coming through. You know, you look back at when we got back in the sport and it was like Kell Brook. I remember one of the first, like Love More and Do in a leisure centre, and that's when we were really building the sport back up. And this is where we're at now. We got these young talents, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, and we need to build them through. And the good thing is they're ready to step up into big fights. It's not like they're holding off, you know, fighting no one you've ever heard of. You know, Anthony Fowler is putting his undefeated record on the line against Scott Fitzgerald, who's also doing the same. That's a big fight. And Joshua Boazzi's doing the same on March 23rd. He's got a massive fight. So they're stepping up much quicker now than probably back in the day. So I think the fans have just got to realise that these are the stars of tomorrow. It might not be as well known yet as Kell Brook, Tony Bellew, David Hay, those names, James DeGale, George Groves, who have all now retired. But this is all part of the procedure. We need to build them up. And they need to start at this point with the likes of Jordan Gill headlining the next gen show.
Well, let's just circle back to the card because you've gone off one again. Talk about that's me. That is. You've done all right. You're a little bit of Eddie rubbing off on you here now. Dominguez, talking about why you guys decided to pick him out for Jordan and Jordan's decision to vacate his Commonwealth title.
Yeah, I think he wants to step on now into the world. This will put him up in the world rankings. Dominguez has faced a lot of hard tests, and this is a step up for Jordan. And as I say, this now moves him into those world rankings and start building up into those bigger fights as we go along.
Jordan was superb against Ryan Doyle, and I think he exceeded expectations from many on the night. Do you think he's going to bring added pressure to himself, especially fighting in front of his hometown, to deliver a similar performance?
Yeah, I think he's always put pressure on him. But one thing about Jordan, he's a great character, and he's quite, I think a lot of the time he's quite reserved. But when you speak to him, he's very confident. He's up for it, and he knows the opportunity he's got. Headlining this show, he can carry on building from here. He's been active, which I think has helped his career. He's fighting just 2.5 months after his last fight, as you say, against Ryan Doyle. So I think he'll push on, and I think he'll get a good win on Saturday night.
What would be the ideal plan then for him for the rest of this year if you could line it up now?
I think, this fight in Peterborough will probably go on an undercard of another show after this. We want to test him in this market, then take him away, build him up in another fight of a similar level, and then towards later in the year start challenging those guys higher up in the world rankings.
Talks about Dominguez then, and what type of fight you expect him to bring on Saturday night, and how would you see it going by a round verdict from the beginning?
I think that Jordan, it's going to be a step up for him, but I think he's going to deliver on Saturday night. I think he's going to, it'll be a strong victory for him.
And obviously Tommy McCarthy and Richard Riakporhe as well. It looks like a very good fight. Talking about that one.
Yeah, that's a great fight, and it's a great fight for both of those. The cruiserweight division right now is very exciting, especially with UK talent, and that's a fight. One of those guys wins. There's a huge fight against the likes of Lawrence Zakoli possibly down the line. I think that's one of the fights of the night on Saturday.
Do you feel Riakporhe's got a bit more of a point to prove on the back of the Sam Hyde victory, in the sense that many people saw him losing the fight until he got the stoppage?
Look, I think that was a step up for Riakporhe as well. Fighting in a big arena, fighting on a pay-per-view show. Again, it's one of those pressures that he learns from, and I think he would have learnt a lot from that fight against Sam Hyde. And we'll take that into this fight. Tommy McCarthy's been in there. He's had some tough tests, and he's going to give Richard a tough fight as well. But I think Richard would have learnt a lot in that fight, and he's going to take all of those learnings from the Manchester, back in November 10th, wasn't it, on the Bellew undercard? And he's going to take those learnings, gone back into the gym. He's surrounded by good people, Dillian White, and he would have learnt a lot there. And I think he'll show that on Saturday.
It talks about John Doherty, Lee Wood, and the rest of the card as well.
Yeah, John Doherty coming off, keeping active, box on the February 2nd Cheeseman undercard. He looked really good on that show, and as I think this is his looks to make it four wins, 4 knockouts. So he'll carry on doing that. Lee Wood fighting for his first big title, fighting for the Commonwealth title. He's now signed with David Coldwell. He needs to keep active, and I think that's with a lot of these guys' careers. Once they get the opportunity to stay active, like you've seen with Jordan Gill, that's really going to add and help them in building up. But it's another one for Lee. He's going to have the pressure where it's not far from his hometown. He's got to go in there and deliver on Saturday night.
Now, a few things away from card that I just wanted to get your opinion on. We'll start off with social media and Eddie Hearn and Stephen Espinoza going at it a couple of days ago. What did you make of it?
I don't know. He's the only man who could sign off a Twitter post with a GIF of himself, or a GIF, or whatever you call it. So it was quite entertaining. He definitely. No, neither of them knew when to stop. I think Espinoza came back about half an hour afterwards, and he just told him cheerio. So.
I mean, obviously, Stephen leaked that tiny segment of the contract, or I don't know what you guys document contract. I don't know what it was. I haven't seen it. What was the situation with it in terms of, was it a contract? Was it a document? What did you guys get?
I think there was never any contract from them. We never received any contract. We do. How many fights do we do a year? Probably 300, 400, 500 fights a year on events. The likes of a world title. So that one of the biggest fights that will ever happen. A contract is about 40 pages long. We didn't receive anything. We didn't receive a contract from them, as Eddie's quite clearly stated. So everyone's got their own agenda. Stephen's got his own agenda because he wants to look like to the fans, we tried to make this fight, etc. But I think, as we've seen in the last few weeks, everyone with Fury as well, everyone has their own agenda to fight. and he's doing his bit. Stephen's doing his bit. Eddie's doing his bit for Matchroom. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of talk. It's interesting, keeps the fans engaged, and we'll see what happens. But I think Stephen lost that battle on the other night.
There's obviously, you've mentioned throughout this interview, there's a lot of fan demand now in very different aspects across the sport, because there's a lot more access in boxing what there is other sports. With that being said, has there ever been any thoughts in terms of maybe just releasing what you received from Stephen Espinoza or from Deontay Wilder's team?
We never received anything.
Nothing at all?
No.
Okay.
No,
so
no.
I didn't know whether it was just like either just an email that they'd sent with just a breakdown of what they was offering, or
Eddie was heavily involved, Barry was involved, and we never received anything from them. When we wanted to talk about when there was discussions going on, there was nothing received by us, nothing. And we sent offers to them. We didn't receive anything back to us, which referenced this is the deal to Matchroom. So it's not how you do business. If we agree a deal, or if we want to do a deal, we say here's a draft contract, review it. It takes much more than Anthony Joshua's going to fight Deontay Wilder on this date. Oh, great. If everything was that easy, brilliant. So it's easy for them to say we wanted to make it on this date. Great. There's a lot more details that go into making a fight. It takes weeks and weeks of negotiations, weeks and weeks of back and forth between various parties. So it's not just as easy as saying, no, we sent them, we said we wanted to make the Wilder Joshua fight on X date. All right, perfect, great. It's not as easy. I wish it was as easy as that. Retire on a beach somewhere and just do it from there. But again, it's like I say, he's got his own agenda to fight. His agenda is, we want Deontay Wilder. We wanted him to fight Anthony Joshua. If they wanted him to fight him, it would happen. As we've seen in the last few weeks, everyone has their own cases to fight. So
the little segment which he put out, has he just drafted that up himself, maybe on like a little email and just screenshotted it and just put it up on Twitter or something?
I don't know. It's very easy. I could do that. I'll just go on my notes. I'm going to write a note about, but I've never seen that, so I don't know where it's come from.
And obviously the other day we saw Tyson Fury say that he's going to have a warm-up fight and he'd like to fight Deontay Wilder after that. What were your thoughts when that came out?
I think that was easy to see. When he signed with ESPN, fair play to him, not taking anything away from him, but that was always going to put a stumbling block in the way of making that rematch. It was never going to be easy. All right, great, he signed with ESPN, let's just make the rematch. So I wasn't really surprised by it, to be honest. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens from here. I think Eddie stated yesterday in an interview we can make a big offer for Deontay to fight on the DAZN platform, and as well after that make the Anthony Joshua fight. I can't see why you wouldn't want to take that fight. Why would you not want to fight for every belt? I don't know, but I'm sure he's got his own reasons for not doing it.
Obviously there was a lot of demand for AJ to fight one of Deontay or Tyson, and he's fighting Jarrell Miller now. Yeah. At the time there was a lot of stick which was going about, but now when you look at it, maybe Deontay will end up fighting Dominic Breazeale before his mandatory. Tyson may end up...
Breazeale guy Anthony's already beat. So, someone said it to me the other day, what about Luis Ortiz? Well, Deontay Wilder's beat Luis Ortiz, so it would be the same argument. Some people, if Josh boxed Luis Ortiz, it would be like, well, Deontay Wilder's already beat him. So you can't win. Everyone wants every fan, I think more than ever now because of social media, people are under pressure just to listen to what the fans want. But you can't, it's not always as easy as just, oh, he said it, this guy from Dave from Durham said it, so let's go and do it. It's not as easy as that. We want to make the biggest fights. We want Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder. But you can't say anything against Jarrell Miller. He's top 5 heavyweights in the world. And AJ has never shied away from a test. You look at his list of opponents, he's boxed everyone he needs to box. So we tried to make Deontay Wilder, tried to make Tyson Fury, tried to make Dillian Whyte. Whatever reason, not going to him, whatever reason, it didn't happen. So what do you want him to do? Just sit there and not box? That's the sort of difficulty with it.
So do you think then, with AJ fighting Miller now, Deontay Wilder seemingly he's going to fight Dominic Breazeale, and Tyson Fury may end up fighting somebody like Purewal? Outside of probably...
I don't think they'll put him in with Purewal, to be honest.
What are your thoughts in terms of who you could see them putting him in with?
I don't know. I think maybe... Who did they have? Is it Oscar Rivas boxed?
Okay, yeah.
Someone like that, or Joseph Parker? I don't know. It would be interesting to see who they do put him in with. But they're saying that they want to give him exposure in the US. Apparently he got massive exposure. It was a massive fight. So why do you need any more exposure? So I mean, there's lots of things going on in the background, I'm sure. Be interesting to see who Wilder fights as well on May 18th. We'll go from there.
But do you think whoever those two guys fight, and obviously considering AJ Miller, that the fans then may take a bit more perspective and think AJ Miller's possibly the best of the three fights which could be made in terms of who Wilder fights and then who Tyson Fury fights? AJ Miller would be better than those opponents.
Yeah, I think name another opponent who he should have picked outside of Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte, who we tried to make the fight with. All of those. Name someone else. I don't think there is anyone like, you know, Jarrell Miller's the one that's up there. And he's not going to fight someone he's already beat. So, you know, that's really where it's at, I think.
And you mentioned Joseph Parker. I was speaking to Dave Colwell yesterday, and he said that a fight had been agreed for Derek Chisora to face Joseph Parker, and then they pulled out because of a lack of time in preparation for the fight. What was the situation with that?
We were working on a number of fights. I think a lot of things changed. We were going to do Dillian Whyte on the card. Then they called the purse bid for the Brazil fight, so that changed it slightly. And I think once it came round to a point, that probably the time period, for whatever reason, wasn't enough. I don't know whether they've got other opportunities for Joseph Parker. I'm not sure, but you know, the aim is to have Derek Chisora fight on April 20th.
And where exactly does this leave Dillian Whyte? Obviously, he was in line to fight Dominic Brazil. Where does he go from here?
Yeah, I mean, until they decide what's happening, I don't know what's happening with Wilder. Like, could he fight Adam Kownacki, who's another one in the PDC group of fighters? Could he fight Dillian Whyte? It's another fight that could be interesting, but who knows? I mean, it's got, you know, Deontay Wilder's the one who now needs to make a decision as to who he wants to fight. So let's see what happens with that. But there's other opportunities for Dillian Whyte out there as well. And
just to stick with the heavyweights, Usyk, an update in terms of an opponent?
Yeah, we're going to announce some details soon. Usyk will be back in May, and you'll see details on that soon.
Any hints?
No.
And finally, just a word as well on James DeGale, who's announced his retirement today.
Yeah, great career. You know, I actually watched for the first time. I watched the fight back on Saturday night against Eubank. You know, I think he's had an unbelievable career, a long career. You know, some of the fights he's been in over a period of time. You know, go back to the George Groves. I can't even remember how long ago that was. Probably 6-7 years ago. Yeah, and you think what he's done in the boxing business is brilliant. So congrats to him, and you know, I'm sure he's going to be very happy now. He's done very well, and he's going to have a nice, chilled life now.
Frank Smith, I know I've kept you for long enough, so thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thanks very much. Cheers, mate.